And we need each other. So eventually we get to the stage where we have this mingling of the seed of men in Daniel 2:43. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. And that could be around about the same time as we come out of the North Country. So when God's doing His stuff, the devil's doing his stuff. Now, it may not happen exactly at the same time. But at some stage, we've got a chessboard called the world. And God's putting the good guys on one side of the chessboard, and He's putting the bad guys on the other. At the moment, the goodies and the baddies are in a box, and they're all mixed up. And God's separating them out. So this stuff that's coming down here in America is separating the chess pieces. Who's on the Lord's side? This side. Who's on the gay and United Nations side? That side. And we can't avoid it. God's forcing it. The bad guys are forcing us into a situation where we have to look after each other. So I call myself a prophet of doom. I hate telling people this stuff. I want to tell people happy stuff. But I think before we get to the happy stuff, we've got a little bit of a windy road to get through. And there's a great deal of hope, but we have to start listening and recognising the time that we're in, and we're walking humbly, because I need to have that favour before Elohim. I have to have that favour before my Father. His face needs to be shining upon me. And then I'll hear a voice behind me saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it." And He'll bring me out of Babylon. He'll bring me back to the land of our fathers. And this is going to be a process, I believe. So what I'm outlining is a process whereby God is separating the light from the darkness through travail. Ultimately, we get to Jeremiah 3:18, where a united Israel and Judah return to the land of Israel. And we have a premillennial Davidic kingdom established according to Amos 9:11, which is quoted in Acts chapter 15. I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen. Sukkot, David, Hanaphalet. And we will possess the remnant of Edom. So instead of the bad guys possessing us, we possess a remnant of the bad guys, which are actually good guys. Because there's a remnant of Edom that the Lord has chosen that are actually His sons and daughters. Caleb, in one genealogy you read that he's from Hezron, which was from Judah. But in another genealogy he says he's a Kenizzite. And Kenez is from Edom. So he's from Esau, Jacob's brother. But it says that he had another spirit in him. So some people can be from bad seed, but they're good guys. So when the bullets are flying, as I like to say, we'll know who our brothers are. So God will also raise up, along with the kingdom of David, the Davidic kingdom, or descendant of David, and then one day David himself, perhaps in the millennium, He will raise up the priesthood. And the story of Lazarus in John chapter 11 is about a real man named Lazarus, or Eliezer in Hebrew. Well, Eliezer was the leader of the priesthood. And I may talk about that a little bit later. We're going to have a Gog-Magog invasion of an Israel that's regathered to the mountains, regathered from the sword. The mountains are that area called the West Bank, or Judea and Samaria, the very area that they're wanting to give away to the Palestinians. So we'll see how that goes, but some of that area is allotted to the house of Israel. There's an area of the West Bank above Jerusalem that's related to Ephraim's territory, to the house of Israel's territory, and there's an area below Jerusalem that's the hill country of Judea, and within that is Hebron, where David used to hang out when Absalom took over. Okay, and after world wars and tribulations and trials, there's peace and prosperity. We may find that we're going to go through some stuff before we get to the tribulation, and then after that there's the millennial reign of Messiah. So let's have a look at what these events may look like. To bring judgment. So why World War IV? I've called something World War IV. I've just said there's going to be some turmoil coming to the land of the north, and God says to us, get out of the north country. And that's His way of kicking us out. Because when we've got a nice home and family and kids are in school, we don't want to move. Okay, it's the same right here now in America. You got things set up, you don't want to go. But God has a way of kind of turning up the heat to make it clear when it's time to go. So keep building your houses, keep doing all of that stuff. Don't be discouraged. If the Lord takes away, the Lord can give again. Houses that you didn't build. Vineyards that you didn't plant. So don't be discouraged. Just press on. So one of the purposes of this turmoil that comes to the North Country is to bring the house of Israel and Judah together and bring them back to the land. So again, I believe that this North Country is a place where we can get it together as one nation under God with our Hebrew culture, then join with the house of Judah. All right, so I'm repeating things a bit. I'm just hoping you'll get the point. Now let's have a look at these scriptures that I quoted. Daniel 2:43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So that shows me that something that is non-human mixing with the seed of men. If something is mixing with the seed of men, by inference, it's not the seed of men. So there we have that whole Nephilim thing going. And maybe some people disagree with all of that. We'll find out in time. I believe there's plenty of evidence in Scripture that there's some pretty supernatural things going on in Genesis chapter 6. And the sons of God came down to the daughters of men. It wasn't Protestants marrying Catholics, or the house of Seth marrying into the line of Cain. It was actually something non-human mixing with something human. So when we read in the book of Revelation that Babylon is the hold of every unclean bird and every unclean thing, when we read that mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, those abominations may be literal and not just figurative. They may start mingling themselves with all sorts of things. And I can see the Vatican moving in that sort of direction already. Starting to blur the lines. If you've done any study about in Australia, the Catholic Church teach evolution in their schools. So I don't know what it's like over here. But they're going one way and we're going the other. They're going, our salvation is from the stars, that we are. There's a lot of mystical stuff going on in the Catholic Church, and it's really starting to turn into quite a Babylonish mix. This is what I touched on before. There's coming a time when the religious leaders in the Jewish state mourn for the one they have pierced. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. So this is showing that Yeshua is part of Yahweh. He who has seen me has seen the Father. I and my Father are one, echad. And his prayer is that we would be one, echad, as he is one. That means we have to have the same Spirit, Holy Spirit within us, that's of divine origin. And that's that oil that goes down Aaron's head, down his beard, down his garments. And the oil is actually collected by Israel. Israel collects the olive oil. And the olive oil goes from the two trees into the menorah in Zechariah's vision. Two trees being the two houses of Israel. They supply the oil. And in the Torah we're told that the Israelites have to provide the oil. So it's all there in symbolism. So the oil comes through and it goes into the menorah, which is a picture of the congregation of Israel, which is us. So many Christians believe that the Jewish people mourning for the one they pierced brings Yeshua. I've got another take on that. The Jewish leaders mourning for the one they pierced removes the final roadblock for the two houses becoming one. Because we can't be one nation with Judah and Israel unless we agree on who the Messiah is. And we can't be one nation if we're keeping Sunday and they're keeping Saturday, Shabbat. We can't be one nation where we're keeping Christmas and they're keeping Hanukkah. And we're keeping Easter and they're keeping Passover. So God's got to put us together again. And so I see that this will bring about not the second coming of Yeshua, but the regathering of both houses together, and the raising up of the house of David and the Levitical priesthood. And one of the purposes of the priesthood of Aaron, if you read, that the high priest was to light the menorah and light the menorah with the candlesticks, pointing towards the inner candlestick, the Messiah himself. So one of the purposes of Aaron is actually to lead the children of Israel to the Mashiach as his emissaries. In a way, the house of Aaron are called my ministers. So when God puts the house of Israel together, the house of Aaron will play a part in the preparation of the bride. Remember John the Baptist, he prepared the way for Yeshua? Well, he was from the house of Aaron. He was from the course of Abijah in the King James, from the line of Eleazar, the son of Aaron. So not all the Levites were bad. When they're good, they're very, very good, and when they're bad, they're horrid. There was a little girl that had a little curl right in the centre of her forehead. When she was good, she was very, very good, and when she was bad, she was horrid. And so that's a little bit like the house of Levi. And Jacob, he cursed their anger, and God says, they're the kind of guys I can use, but I'm going to have to sprinkle them lightly throughout Israel, because they're too peppery when you put them all together. So the house of Judah joins with the 10 lost tribes of the house of Israel in the north country and return to the promised land. We're just told this. Again, I've said this before, I'm just hammering it. In those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. So we have to get to the north country before this can be fulfilled. But in Hosea, we read something contrary to this. And how does it work? The first half says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are sons of the living God. B'nai El-Chai. B'nai El-Chai. Sons of the living God. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. Well, here we're told that they're actually coming together in Jezreel. Well, the Jezreel Valley is Megiddo. That whole area. Jezreel is kind of connected to that Megiddo Valley sort of area. So we're going to come together here, but in the previous verse I thought we were coming together in the north country. So how does that work? Obviously, part of the house of Judah, this is how I understand it, so I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, but as I understand it, part of the house of Judah is in the north country with us. And we join up and we get kissy-kissy and have hugs and cries. And then we come out of there and we come down and we meet the rest of the house of Judah in the Jezreel Valley. And they've been battling in Jerusalem, and the house of Judah has been like David, and the house of David has fought like God. And they've mourned for the one they've pierced. Now we're ready to come together as a family. So this is we'll see how it transpires. So I'm just presenting this before you, and we'll find out in time if we live long enough.